And after 6 days, Jesus takes Peter, James, and John, his brother, and brings them up into the high mountain apart, and was transfigured before them, and his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elias talking with him. Then answered Peter and said unto Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you will, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for you, and one for Moses, and one for Elias. While he yet spake, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and behold, a voice out of the cloud, which said, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him. And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their face and were sore afraid. And Jesus came and touched them and said, Arise, and be not afraid. And when they had lifted up their eyes, they saw no man save Jesus only. And then Mark 9, verses 14 and 15. And when he came to his disciples, he saw a great multitude about them, and the scribes questioning with them. And straightway all the people, when they beheld him, were greatly amazed, and running to him, saluted him. Word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Amen.
Amen.
You know, this is the summer season, and part of that is amusement parks and roller coasters, where you go up, 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 and then down. I don't like roller coasters. And part of that is, it's kind of like where you have those mountain experiences, and then you're down in the valley. Kind of like Moses. He's up in the mountain, he's there with God, and he's listening and getting the commandments from God, and he goes down to the valley, and the people have lost their minds. Worshiping a golden calf that they built. This is the God that brought us out of Egypt. Or how about Elijah on Mount Carmel with the prophets of Baal? And they are, they're having the showdown. Whose God is the God? And Elijah got a little bit of instigating in him. Maybe he's asleep. Maybe you need to yell a little loud. Maybe God can't hear you. And then when it's his turn, he not only rebuilds the altar and puts the sacrifice there, but he soaks it down and puts a moat around the altar and soaks it also, and God just takes it all. And not long after that, he's running because Jezebel said, just like my prophets, by the end of the day, that's what you will like. Those valleys that follow the mountains. And we know what to do with mountaintop experiences. Oh man, they just good. You don't want to leave. You want to stay right there.
Amen.
The way that I missed my daughter, because people ask, do you miss your daughter while you're in Ireland? Yes, but I'm so excited for her that kind of overshadows it. But the way it showed up every morning, I got on Facebook to see what pictures they had posted from the day before, and I looked for her. There she is. Why is her face so? Why is she covering her face? It got everybody covering their face with the squad sign. And some of them were saying, I'm having such an awesome time, I don't want to come home. Because it's that mountaintop experience. With the ministry that I served in, the Oak Cliff Great Banquet, the last 2 banquets, and the banquets are a 3-day experience. I served as the head spiritual director. So you shepherd the spiritual direction team, so there are 4 other spiritual directors, and then also shepherd the team and the guests, and to just be able to see individuals who come in and they're just looking like, what is this? And by the end, they have just so encountered Christ that you see the countenance in their face change, and they're like, we don't want to leave. Can we just stay here? It's those mountaintop experiences. Or New Millennium, when you see the kids just really catching on to what it means to know God and to serve God and to actually hear from Him. And they're like, can it be longer next year? Because it's that mountaintop experience. But we can't stay be on the mountain.
Well,
And we also understand valleys. Those times when it's just like, really, what else? What else could go wrong? But we know what to do with valleys, get out of them.
all right.
But it's those places in between the mountain and the valley, those plateaus. And that's kind of where we live most of the time. But you don't want to be in a place where the plateau becomes a rut.
All right.
And you just get caught up in the distractions, because that's what happens sometimes when you come off of the mountain. Then you're like, oh man, I'm just going to remember this forever. And then you get there and then it's back into get up, work, go to bed. Get up, work, go to bed. Get up, watch a movie, go to bed. You know, it's that, what happened to what was on the mountaintop? So what I want to talk about today, just kind of share with you, are the lessons that we can learn on the mountaintop.
All right.
While we're living on the plateau. It says after 6 days, Jesus takes Peter, James, and John, his brother, and brings them up into the high mountain apart. So he brought them away for a little while. Has Jesus ever tried to lead you away for a little while, for just a little bit of time with him? You know, it says that he will lead us beside the still waters and restore our soul. So perhaps if we're not feeling that restoration of our souls, it's because when he says, come on and get a part. Take a little time with me. Hold up, I gotta do this first. Let me get these dishes out the sink first. Hold on, let me write this out first. In Luke, it says that they went up there to pray. But whatever the reason, he took them apart, and says, and was transfigured before them. And his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. One of the first lessons we can get from the mountaintop is that we can see Jesus for who he truly is.
All right.
Now this word transfigured is the same word that we translate as transformed. In Romans 12:2, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed. We could say, but be ye transfigured, because it's the same word. We also sometimes translate it as changed, as when we behold his glory and we are changed to be more like Christ. We could say we are transfigured into his image to be more like him. When it says that his raiment was white as the light, in Luke it tells us that no fuller on earth could get it any whiter. And a fuller there was someone kind of like the cleaners, one who made the clothes and also cleaned them and everything, saying you can't get this kind of white here on earth. You can see Jesus for who he truly is. Because when you think of Jesus, when you think of a picture of Jesus in your mind, what do you see? Most of the time, it's the ones that were in our grandmother's homes on the wall. And there are a couple of different versions. One is Jesus just standing outside of a door that is closed. That comes from, behold, I stand at the door and knock. Or else you see the picture of Jesus that is like this, looking up, and he's kneeling. You know, very passive and calm. But Jesus is also the Lion of the tribe of Judah.
Well.
And then the Lion, which in the wardrobe said he is not a tamed lion. He is, as Geneva's led in the song today, he is wonderful. He is excellent. He is mighty. He is awesome. He is a provider. He is merciful. When we are on those mountaintops, we have a chance to see Jesus for who he truly is. And so then what does that look like when we're back on the plateau? Because if I know that he is excellent and I'm to be like him, then that means that I do my work with excellence.
Well,
You know, I don't do stuff just to get by because they don't know any better or because it's good enough, but I do it with excellence because He is excellent. I extend mercy to others because He is merciful.
well,
I extend love and grace because that is what He has done for me. On the mountaintop, we can see Jesus for who He truly is. It says, and behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elias talking with Him. One account says that the disciples' eyes got heavy with sleep, and when they awoke, they looked up and saw Moses and Elias there with Jesus. Then answered Peter and said unto Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you will, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elias. Now, at the beginning it says, in 6 days after. After what? In Luke it tells us 8 days after this saying. Well, in Luke it just talks about the confession of Peter, where he says, thou art the Christ, and 8 days later they go up to the mountain. In this account we have not only Peter's confession, but apparently a couple of days later, when he says, oh no, not you, Christ, and Christ rebukes him, get behind me, Satan. 6 days after this, apparently Peter has learned a little bit, because he doesn't just say, let's build 3 tabernacles. Jesus, if it's okay with you. He has learned that he needs to kind of temper himself. And to ask Jesus, if it's okay with you. If it's your will,
well,
let us build these 3 tabernacles. Because he didn't want to leave. And so he's like, okay, we'll get one for Moses. And there are 6 of them up there. Because it's Moses, Elias, Jesus, Peter, James, and John. He doesn't say let's build 6 tabernacles. He says let's build 3. Get y'all set up. And I'm just going, Moses, what was it like? Leading all of it. And Elijah, the prophets, how did that work out? What was it like when they were, yelling and screaming and nothing was happening and the fire came down? And then, he's like, I just want to stay here. I just want to stay here. And so let's build these tabernacles and just stay. But the second thing that we learn when we're on the mountaintop is to focus on Jesus.
all right.
It says, while he yet spake, he didn't even get to finish. Behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and behold, a voice out of the cloud which said, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him. So God redirects his focus. No, we don't need 3 tabernacles.
All right.
And what he does first is to identify that Christ is his Son. This is my Son. He identifies who Jesus is. And the next thing he identifies is his pleasure, because he says, in whom I am well pleased.
All right.
And then finally, he identifies our director, the one to whom we should receive directions. Hear ye him. Okay, so if we learn that our focus is to be on Jesus, what does that look like when we live from day to day? Well, it could be that when I set my calendar, or my schedule for the day, it's not just based on what I think I'm going to do that day, but rather to kind of sit and talk with Jesus. You have anything in particular I need to know about right now? Because sometimes he surprises you with stuff. And you just have to be ready to go with that flow. But occasionally, he'll give you some insight at the beginning of the day that you can put into your schedule. Is it CNN that we get our direction from? Okay, pop that on in the morning and see what's going on. Is it the written news? Is it what's going on Facebook? Is this where we're getting our direction? There's too many distractions. Don't get caught up in all that. Focus on my Son. Focus on Jesus.
Amen.
So one of the lessons that we get is that we can see Jesus for who he truly is. And we also learn to focus on Jesus. But then we can also be touched by Jesus.
All right.
And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their face and were sore afraid. Now sometimes when you hear they fell on their face, like Job, he fell on his face and worshiped. There are those that fall on their face and worship, but they fell on their face because they were sore afraid. And Jesus came and touched them and said, "Arise, be not afraid." So, what's the deal about being touched by Jesus? Well, if somebody don't touch you, they got to be close to you. There's no touching long distance. They say reach out and touch, not long distance. That means they're near you. So if you are touched by Jesus, that means he's right there. What do you live like when you know that Jesus is right there? You can walk with boldness, you can walk with confidence because you know that Jesus is right there.
Right there.
Now my husband gives examples of him not having an older, his father that was there that could stand up for him, but he did have Pete, older cousin. For me, I was the oldest, and so, but my brother and sister during the year that we were at school together, they knew that I was nearby. And so that gave them some confidence. When we know that our big brother Jesus is nearby, we too can have confidence. We can speak out with boldness. You don't have to go, well, if I say that might hurt. Things that aren't politically correct. We can speak truth when we know that Jesus is with us. And we know he's with us because he's close enough to touch and say, "Be not afraid." And when they had lifted up their eyes, they saw no man save Jesus only. So on the mountaintop, we can see Jesus for who he truly is. When we're involved in those mountaintop experiences, we have an opportunity to focus on Jesus. And when during those mountaintop experiences, we know that we are touched by Jesus and that he does not leave us alone and that he gives us the ability to not be afraid. And we need that because we can't stay on the mountain. So they came on down the mountain, and when they got there was a great multitude about them, and the scribes questioned them, and straightway all the people, when they beheld him, were greatly amazed, and running to him, saluted him. There is work to be done, and it's not just a few. There are a multitude who need to experience the love and the grace of Christ. Amen. And if either we don't come off of the mountain and try to stay up there pitching tents and stuff, or we come down forgetting what we have seen, or we come down and, you're just not spiritual enough. You haven't seen what I've seen. You haven't been where I've been. That's not helpful either. But when we come down with the lessons that we have learned, then we are able to greet those who need Jesus.
Come on. Amen.
And allow him to work through us. Jesus did not climb a mountain at the end, but he did climb a hill.
All right.
Called Calvary.
Yeah.
That was no mountaintop. But because he did, we are able to see him for who he truly is. He is our Savior. Amen. And we are able to focus on him. Because when he was lifted up, he said, if I be lifted up, yes, I will draw men unto me. Amen.
Hallelujah.
And because of the work that was done on Calvary and the resurrection of Christ, that he is now with his Father and coming back, we have no need to be afraid. He said he would never leave us nor forsake us, that he would be with us until the end of the age. So as we walk each day, a lot of times, sometimes churches will have on their bulletins that we enter to worship and we leave to serve. So as we leave out to service, we let others be able to see some of that transfigured Christ in us. Amen. God bless you.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.